The European Club for Countertrade and Offset held its 11th symposium in the offices of DLA Piper in London, England on the 18th and 19th of November 2015. ECCO was pleased to welcome as keynote speaker Lord Howe, Minister of State for the UK Ministry of Defence and Deputy Leader of the House of Lords.
Minister, dear friends, a few days ago, a number of violent terrorist attacks took place in France. We all know that the only worthwhile reaction is to stand erect, strong, and united in the face of the unacceptable. Ladies and gentlemen, I propose that we observe a minute's silence for the victims of these last few months before we began this symposium. We are extremely fortunate to be the guest of DLA Piper, and we are highly honored, Minister, by your presence, which illustrates the importance the United Kingdom attaches to the very special field of offset. And now I will leave it to Sir Nigel Knowles, Chairman of DLA Piper, to welcome you, before Baroness Simons introduces the Minister.
Hello, my name is Nigel Knowles, and I'm the Global Co-Chairman of DLA Piper, and it's my firm privilege to welcome you to the European Club for Countertrade and Offset's 11th Symposium. As oil prices are decreasing, defence procurers want greater returns on investments and are placing an increasing emphasis on offset solutions. In light of all this, I would like to challenge you all over the next 2 days to consider the question, what is a successful offset and how do we achieve it? So without further ado, it's my pleasure to hand over to my close colleague, Baroness Simons, who will introduce me.
Well, Nigel, thank you very much, and can I add my welcome to everybody here today, of course very especially to Lord Howe, who is the Deputy Leader of the whole of the House of Lords, and of course he deals with all the issues in the House of Lords which arise on the defence portfolio, and he has to answer all the questions too, including of course those on offset. I've known Lord Howe for over 19 years. Not just as a parliamentarian, not just as a minister, but I will say this, he is exceptionally hard-working. There is very rarely a question put to him that he has to say, I'll write to you later. He always has read his brief properly and he's learnt it, and he's really terrific at the dispatch box. So the Lord Howe is a good minister, he's a good parliamentarian, and also, if I may say so, he's a very good friend, and I'm delighted to ask him to come and address us now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Liz. That's a very kind introduction. And thank you particularly for the invitation to speak at this event, which I'm really delighted to do. The theme that I'd like to major on, if I may, is that of investing in capabilities. But of course, I need to start by saying that there are all kinds of ways of channeling investment, including, of course, offset. I submit, and I hope you agree, that we can and do learn from each other. There is no one-size-fits-all approaches, and I hope you'll take inspiration from what we're doing in the UK to invest in our capabilities and to deliver world-leading equipment to our armed forces. Now, for any government thinking about how best to invest in their defence capabilities, they've got to create the best possible conditions for that investment. We had to make some really tough decisions. We set about balancing the forward procurement budget, which unfortunately was grossly overcommitted, and we cancelled some expensive but failing programs. We reformed decision-making around major projects, making the armed forces themselves responsible for their procurement decisions. And just as importantly, making them understand the consequences of those decisions. But equally important to making difficult decisions, making changes, is of course sending the right signals to the industry, and in particular, signals about stability. We did that by putting £166 billion into a 10-year equipment budget. Because the reality is that state-of-the-art planes and tanks and ships all rely on people for their manufacture and maintenance, and those people have got to have confidence that their skills are going to be valued and supported by us, the government. They must also believe that their industry is sustainable, with a strong future. And that means it's got to be capable of driving forward innovation and delivering quality products and services to the customer at the right time and the right cost. We're fortunate here in the UK because we have strong trade links globally, and that's one good reason why the UK defence industry wins defence contracts across the world, and why there are few major platforms, particularly in aerospace, that don't have at least some British component in them. That in turn gives us the confidence to buy what we need on the global market and to welcome overseas investment into the UK, which helps to drive forward innovation and the development of products. The SDSR is going to be published next week, and I'd encourage everybody here to have a look at that document when it comes out and understand what our priorities are. Now, whatever comes out of the SDSR, rest assured that the MOD remains committed to certain goals, one of which is to increase our spend with SMEs. And that is because we believe that the real secret to success in innovation lies in opening up your supply chains and tapping the talent of those lightning rods of creativity, the SMEs. The benefits, incidentally, are certainly not limited to SMEs. We're also challenging the larger defence companies to think of ways of improving defence systems and defence in general, actually, and also how to grow. And we're doing that through the Defence Growth Partnership. And this commitment to making it easier for companies, large and small, to do business in the UK is what drives increased investment here. And it also what drives better UK capabilities. It's worth just highlighting that in just about every country around the world, competition for government contracts is tougher than ever. So the onus really is on the defence industry to focus on exportability. But the other aspect to our approach to supporting industry is efficiency. This is really important to understand. We are laying down a gauntlet for industry to become leaner and more efficient. We are determined to use competition wherever possible to help us to be that lean and efficient organisation with lean and efficient partners in industry, supporting us all the way. We've made it clear that any company in Europe is treated on a level playing field, any company in Europe, when bidding for MOD contracts. That is good for us, and it is good for the British defence industry, who know that they need to be challenged to deliver. If they win the contracts with us, they can win overseas as well. And the successful export figures prove that that approach is working. Now, I'm aware that I haven't mentioned offsets yet. And that is deliberate because everything that I've said so far is relevant to how we approach this issue. As you may be aware, the UK does not use offsets. And that's because we benefit significantly from accessing the best defence products and services across the world through open competition, and we've taken a leap of faith in UK industry that they can compete globally and support and deliver our specialist requirements when necessary. Now, that is not to say that we will not protect our national interest when we feel the need to do so. The National Security Through Technology White Paper sets out very clearly when we will act to protect operational advantage and freedom of action, and we do that. I wanted just to answer the question that Christian Sylvain asked me about Defence Directive EC 2009-81. We're not against that directive, actually, because, as I've explained, our interests rest in a more open and competitive defence market. But I would just say we have an open mind about whether the directive needs to be radically altered. And we have an open mind because we actually don't have the evidence about its effectiveness. I'd just like to conclude by highlighting that we don't need in this country to use offsets to encourage companies to invest in the UK. They come willingly, and we are as transparent and welcoming as possible about our procurement and our plans. So my message to any government representatives here today is that no matter what approach you use to attract investment and to sustain critical defence capabilities, do understand what it is that you are wanting to achieve and put in place policies that will encourage and enable other people to achieve the same goals as you. The UK approach shows that companies are certainly willing to invest if they have confidence and if they believe that the conditions are right. So my message to industry representatives present is to understand those goals and to seek to explain openly and in an environment of candour how you can achieve those goals. It is about trust, it is about communication on both sides, but the rewards are worth it. Thank you very much for listening to me, and I also hope you have a wonderful and productive 2 days here. Thank you.